And welcome back to the Fly the Flag podcast, everybody. Mike Faraci, Jonny Fowler. How's it going, brother?
It's going great. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you this. I know that we had the big deal the other day for the grand opening of Scott and Jared's branch.
Yep.
And we did it at Margaritaville. Well, I've got to tell you this. I met our fan.
Our one fan?
The fan that we have.
Our listener. You made personal contact. Fantastic.
Yep. She actually came to the open house. She's the one. She actually thought that you and I were both in California and that we were like a paid podcast thing. And
so we're doing it right.
It was kind of cool. You know, it was probably disappointing for her, but you know.
Fact. Never.
How are you? What's been going on with you?
Heroes. I'm doing well. I'm keeping busy. You know, just a lot of stuff. Putting some of your strategies into practice for my own stuff and publishing content daily. Just trying to test, observe, and iterate as much as I possibly can when it comes to stuff, and trying to get people creating more. That's my mission right now. Just get people making. Stop.
Well, I'm loving Red Button. I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you.
I'm loving the content. And it's one of those
things. I
things.
just had a new little product for everybody launch on June 1st. I don't want to talk about it right now. That's not what this podcast is for.
No. But it's just what goes on in our life. So I want to say that I'm enjoying it. I want to say one thing that I have found that I needed to share with you is in the beginning, I understood Red Button, you know, but the more that I watch, the more that I get intrigued, the more that I am loving. You know, you're okay. The kids are great. Just throwing that out there. You're okay.
How do you think I put them on camera?
The dog's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But I am loving the name more and more every day.
Thank you.
So I don't think I've ever had that happen before where, you know, somebody said Avatar and I'm thinking, what a great name of a movie, you know, and then and on and on. But, you know, I really am. Every day I look forward to that video. Every day I look forward to that content. And every day I look forward to that name. And I don't know why, but I really love Red Button.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my passion project is Red Button Media. HitTheRedButton.com for anybody who's interested. And recent launch of VideoMarketingMarvels.com as well. But that's enough about me. I want to welcome in our guest who has hit the red button and does on a regular basis with his own personal content, COO and founder of FinLocker, Brian Vieaux. Welcome to the pod, Brian.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm glad you said his name, so now everybody knows how to see it because we see him constantly on LinkedIn.
That's right.
And I know that people are going, is that View? Is it VIX? What? How do you say? So I'm glad you said it.
Yep. Super simple.
So, hey, quick question. I overheard you guys talking on the open some about a paid podcast. So what's in it for me here, guys?
If you would just go stand by your mailbox. Don't go anywhere. Go stand by the mailbox. The check is on its way. Stand right there. Don't go.
There you go.
Okay, good.
There you go. Brian, we're going to get into FinLocker and what you're doing with that fantastic financial fitness app that lots of mortgage professionals are using to connect and re-engage with borrowers in ways that they haven't really been able to before. Because before it took a whole lot of IT development and capital in order to get something like that in place. But to build on the content creation conversation, you've recently committed to hitting the red button, recording more video, and posting it all the time. Tell us what that's done for you.
So let me back up a little bit. It was right after the first of the year. So I'll start by saying I run a startup fintech. You know, we have limited resources, limited capital, and most of what we have, we pour into our product. And so when it comes to building brand awareness and biz dev and marketing, you're kind of looking at it, right? So as I came out of 2022 and into 2023, I knew I wasn't going to hire 10 10 people to staff a sales and marketing and biz dev channel. So how do I scale me? Because I was it. And I was inspired. Frankly, I was inspired, Mike, long ago. You and I connected in your former life, and you would get on and say great things about the importance of home ownership and educating first-time home buyers. And watching that kind of over and over again, I came to understand a lot about the company you were with at the time. And so things like that, and learning from people like you that were doing that, I'm like, okay, if these guys can do it, I can do it. It's not that hard. Guess what?
Absolutely.
It's not easy, but it's also not that hard. You have to do it. So after the first of the year, I made a commitment to be more active on LinkedIn. And I've been able to build a network on LinkedIn over 20 some years. So I have a big network of connections on LinkedIn. So it made sense that that's where I was going to spend my time. And I've been working on building our corporate, our company LinkedIn page, but it's got to start from me personally. And I had to just buy into that. And so it started with, two posts a week, some video, some not. And I started to get some traction and momentum, and people started to, I guess when I'd get on a demo, they'd at least know who the heck FinLocker was by the time I got on a demo. And so about 4 months ago, I said, I'm going to just go all in. And I probably am overdoing it, but I post 4 unique pieces of content every day, 7 days a week. I spend my Saturday mornings creating that content. A lot of it's video. LinkedIn's pretty cool because you can schedule out pretty far in advance. I've scheduled months out in advance. And so tomorrow morning, I'll record, the next 10 days worth of content, schedule it all out. I leave myself a couple windows during the week for timely stuff that might be interesting to share. And I was worried that it was going to be annoying. And I've got nothing but positive feedback. It has directly resulted in activity in my pipeline. It has directly resulted in at least one enterprise contract that's been created. But more importantly, it is, maybe this is the secret sauce and it's going to come back and bite me, but there is a belief, I believe, that people think FinLocker is bigger than it is today. And so we're casting a big shadow, and we're using a tool that everybody that's watching this right now can use, because I know everybody's walking around with their camera right there. I mean, their phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Massive credibility.
That's it. Jonny, is it possible to overdo it when you're publishing content?
Somewhat. It kind of depends. If you are a rerun, if you're saying the same thing over and over again, yeah, it is. If you are saying the same message and it's a different color, yeah, it gets to be too much. But I am a firm believer. I'm a Gary V fanatic. 164 pieces of content a day, and it works just fine. What's not okay is not putting out anything. What's not okay is not having a message. What's not okay is not being present when your rivals are present, when your competition is present. The other thing that I can tell you that it does for you is beyond the credibility. It makes people realize, and I was going to ask you, have you met with people since doing the content, since doing the video, who actually think they know you more than they actually truly do, because they see your mannerisms, they hear your voice, they see how you act, how you talk, how you move, what time your videos are, and things like that, and they truly feel like they know you?
100%. And one of the things I do, because I just gave away part of my secret, I do most of my content for the week on a Saturday morning.
Just so you know, Brian, you can give away all the secrets because only 1% of the people are actually going to do it.
I know.
So,
I mean,
he's being more realistic. Yeah.
Well,
I tell people it's okay. 95% of the people in the world are either lazy or scared, so they're not going to do it.
Well, it's only the one fan of your podcast that I'm talking to anyway, right? So
yeah.
I most of the time on Saturday mornings, I've got, like Mike, I got my hat on. It might be backwards, it might not be. I'm not all buttoned up. I'm certainly not, I'm not wearing a suit coat. I can tell you that. It's me, and I'm just talking to my phone for 90 seconds about something that I think is interesting, and something that's, hopefully going to connect and let people kind of maybe get to know Brian that they wouldn't otherwise. So yeah, I would say, Johnny, that definitely going out, or even just getting on a Zoom or a demo with somebody for the first time, there is a familiarity that I can already feel and see from that person, which is pretty cool. And I see the same thing with, Mike and I, first time we talked, I probably was watching his stuff for months before we actually talked. We exchanged on messaging on LinkedIn, and so you kind of build. There is a relationship that gets built that way. People don't want to believe it, but it's real.
Oh yeah, massive.
Yeah, interesting thing that came up in the same vein on a recent discovery call I had a couple of weeks ago with a prospective client. About 5 minutes into the call, he said, "Okay, let me just get into what I'm thinking, and if there's any way you can help us with it. I've accomplished what I needed to accomplish with this call. I just needed to make sure that you were the same guy as you are on video."
I love it.
Like, that was it. He was like, "Oh, okay. 5 minutes into the Zoom. Oh, you're the same guy I see on video. Let's move along."
Right.
Let's see if we can figure something out here. So people really do get to know you, or at least get to know the you that you put out there.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to be authentic and yourself on 100%. Camera, because if you're putting out a character, they're getting to know that character, and when they go to do business with you, it's going to be a different dynamic, and you don't want that.
That's
you're setting yourself up to fail, and in that sense. So yeah, that's good stuff. And then Brian hit another tip on the head perfectly without even knowing it. You focus the vast majority of your content on LinkedIn because first, your product is the primary market is business. So it's a B2B product, and businesses live on LinkedIn for the most part. So obviously, but the thing that made you focus on LinkedIn is because you already had the biggest following there.
Yeah.
And when somebody's starting to make content, they look at Twitter and LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Do yourself a favor. Start in the place where you have the largest following, group of friends, community, whatever it is they call it, right? Start in the place where you have the most, and then maybe pick one other one to toss some stuff out to, and then grow over time, baby steps.
Yeah,
like
I love that.
You don't have to jump in all the way right away. It's okay to grow into that stuff. And
you, Mike, you kind of coached me on this probably when we first started working together with Red Button, and I had an Instagram account, but I never went on it, and certainly never posted on it. Definitely have a Facebook account. So what I've done, and again, this is your kind of coaching, is I've taken all this. I've got now a library of content that I've created. It's it's either sitting on my phone, or I actually have it all categorized on my laptop.
Yep.
And I'm now repurposing content that I maybe a week and a half ago I pushed out on LinkedIn. Now I'm not doing the number and the frequency of what I do on LinkedIn on Instagram, but now I'm just doing one a day on Instagram, and then sharing that to Facebook, of course. And there's a lot of overlap in my network, but there's also a lot of people in one or the other that aren't on the other. So
absolutely,
it's and then for me, being a B2B2C kind of marketing, seller, if you will, the consumer is that end consumer of my digital product, even if it's coming from one of my lenders. So what I've been doing is trying to repurpose some of my B2B messaging and create kind of a B2C message that I use on Instagram. But I kind of set it up as, imagine, hey, loan officer, imagine if you were talking to your customers like this.
Sure.
So it's just mixing it up a little bit.
A thing that I found helped me a lot when I first started trying to break down mortgage concepts so consumers could understand them simply. You just got to put yourself in the mindset like you're talking to a fourth grader, right? Make it as simple to understand as possible. And I learned very quickly that from a corporate education, industry educational perspective, that if you can make something understandable for a fourth grader, then just maybe you can get a loan officer to understand it too. So it's the consumer facing education. Not a whole lot of people understand how pertinent that is to industry professionals as well.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, let me ask you a question.
I was gonna move on from that, but go ahead, Johnny.
Now I got a question because here's my thing. I've thought about it before. It's something that has intrigued me before about building an app. And I want to know what the thought process was. I want to know where the infancy came from.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, here's this guy that says, you know what? I got $500,000 burning a fucking hole in my pocket and I don't know what to do with it. Let's burn it all up and run it and make an app, So give me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I wish it would have been $500,000.
Do us a favor and give us your elevator pitch about what FinLocker currently is, and then go into that backstory for
Yeah, that's a good. We'll start with who we are today, and then I can tell you how we started, because where we started is not where we are today.
Yeah.
So FinLocker is a fully white labeled, consumer facing financial fitness and home ownership journey app. We're a native app on iOS and Android. When we deploy an enterprise client, we publish our tech to that client's account in the App Store, Google Play and Apple. And so we're like the mashup, if you will, of Mint.com meets Credit Karma, meets Rocket Money, meets Zillow, like all those features that consumers would get from each of those apps. We squish them all together, and the part of the secret sauce or specialty of what we do is we're not Karma or Mint or Rocket. We're you. We're whatever your brand is. We are you. We become you. And we built a layer of experience on top of those features I briefly called out. And that layer is kind of the uniqueness. That layer is a specific home ownership experience. And that says a lot. 2 words, home ownership experience, because home ownership experience could start 12 or 24 months before someone buys a home.
Absolutely.
And it could start with, hey, I want to own a home. I have no idea where to start. Would I even qualify? What do I do? And that's where our financial tools in the app helps a consumer at least get a baseline understanding of where they are today. And then based on their goals and objectives and timeline, the app will engage that consumer through that readiness experience. Now, I want to add something that's really super important in my opinion. Technology alone doesn't solve the education and that preparedness process for a prospective home buyer. And we know for a fact that our schools, high schools and colleges aren't teaching in any kind of manner personal finance to folks.
That's correct.
So everybody comes out of high school or college really not at the same level, with no understanding of really what it means to buy a home and own a home, and how do I even prepare? And so who is the best resource, bar none, to teach that to consumers at what I'll call local scale? That's the mortgage professional in a local community, in a market, that really understands the nuances of the financing piece of owning a home, right? And so our app is built to really amplify that local mortgage professional and offer the opportunity to be that financial educator, again, local at scale, right? And so when we talk about the homeownership journey and the tools, that's all being driven and connected directly with the loan officer. So there's a kind of a one-to-one connection between that consumer who's using the tech and their loan officer, their mortgage professional who's invited them into this product to begin with. So that's, to me, that's where it works. It doesn't work. Tech alone is just not going to solve for it. And frankly, a loan officer can't scale themselves alone. And so if you can, as a loan officer who's built a following, built trust, has a personal brand in their community, can now put on top of that a tech piece like FinLocker and partner with somebody like Mike and Red Button to amplify the message at scale on a social basis, but deliver it locally. I think that's a game changer. So I went off on a tangent, which I tend to do, but
no,
that's
it's totally
kind of who we are today.
I think FinLocker is a huge opportunity for loan officers just because this is a way that you can engage prospective homebuyers 12, 18, 24 months earlier in the funnel than most loan officers would ever dream of engaging a prospective customer.
I'll separate FinLocker for a minute. You could replace FinLocker with some other similar financial toolkit, right? Any
sort of financial education.
Yeah, I mean, if I was, and I'm not a loan officer coach, it's not what I do, but if I was coaching today's loan officer about tomorrow's business, I would be telling them that financial education is what they're selling. They need to get out and build their database today using financial literacy, financial education, homeownership preparedness that's what they're selling. And if they do a good job, if they're credible, if they built trust doing that, they will have earned the right to win the business in 18 months or 24 months when the consumers, the people they're educating and helping, are ready to transact. Instead, for a lot of loan officers, they wait for what? They wait for the referral from the referral partner, and it's now a transaction that's happening versus building a relationship over time that they can then translate into transactions and revenues and referrals beyond that.
And of course, you're not always you're gonna earn the right to have a chance at winning the business.
That's it.
Right? You're never gonna win the business 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But being the person to help that borrower, that buyer, get to that point to where they're ready to buy, you're gonna get the first at bat.
That's right.
And that's the most important one because
you might get
of people that actually shop their loan with other lenders is very small.
Yeah, you might get someone that says, "Hey, Mike, man, you've been awesome. You've helped me out. I've got this off. Here's my offer from my local credit union. Right? What do you think?" It'd be easy if you're just a salesperson to say, "Oh, that's garbage. My deal's better." Blah 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 blah. But sometimes if you're going to do right by the consumer, you're going to tell them what you think, and if it's the best deal, then that's the best deal for them. Maybe it's the best deal for them in their situation, and that particular product that you don't have access to best suits them for where they are right now. They're going to remember that when somebody else is interested in learning about buying a home. And I think just doing the right thing always comes back in spades to you in any role, but in particular in this one.
So tell us how you got there.
Yeah. So I spent 30 years in the world of you all, and I was in the primary, mortgage production space for 30 years. Most recently, I ran a division at Flagstar Bank, the third party division of Flagstar. So I worked every day for a lot of years with independent mortgage brokers, independent mortgage bankers, banks and credit unions, and all the folks that kind of make up those. And I was really watching and studying this shift we were all seeing in the way business was getting done, and certainly how consumers were coming into the lending pipeline. I also had visibility into FinLocker. I'm not a founder, but I think I've earned the right to call myself one in the last 4 years. But the two of the founders are real good friends of mine. We go back decades. So when they started this business, I was paying attention to it, put a few dollars into it just to make it interesting. And what the company started out doing was really solving for a point in time in the middle of the loan manufacturing process, specifically helping loan processors and underwriters be more efficient with their evaluation of a consumer's asset data, bank accounts, bank statements. So most of the time, consumers come in with a shoebox of 3 months of bank statements, and they never have page 8 of 8, which is blank, and they never understand why you need the last page. It's blank. So that's the reality we all have dealt with over time with paper. And then there's the ability for some unscrupulous borrowers to manipulate the ink on the paper to reflect what needs to be reflected. And so FinLocker was kind of at the early stage of what we know today as day one certainty asset verification. But the market wasn't ready for that at that point in time. This is like 6.5 years ago. So what was super cool was the concept that FinLocker created was this concept where a consumer created a financial locker, thus FinLocker. They loaded a few of their bank accounts in that locker, and then that locker capability allowed that consumer to securely share the data, the output from those accounts with their lender. And so off of that infrastructure of this concept of a financial locker that stored data from bank accounts, the pivot was to create a more holistic consumer financial fitness experience that went well beyond just the financial accounts. And now we bring in the credit score, credit report, tools for users to model changes to their credit score. So again, your early journey, first-time home buyer who just doesn't know a whole lot about whether they're in a good spot or not. And today's young people, especially Gen Z, they don't like to be judged. They don't want to be judged. They want to have a tool to go do something first before they talk to somebody that potentially is going to judge them. And kind of by definition, lenders judge everybody, right? They judge whether you can get a loan or not. So our tool helps consumers do things kind of on their own until they're ready to directly engage with their lender. So it was a cool pivot to see kind of a point solution in the middle of the loan manufacturing process become today this holistic, consumer financial fitness experience that truly layers on the homeownership journey.
Jonny, what do you got? I have a question, but I want to ask you first.
No, go.
So
I'm digesting it.
Yeah. So I want to get into a little bit, inspired by a few recent pieces of content from you, Brian, actually, on the good old LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's been a recent shift in your messaging towards helping loan officers, like your everyday loan officer, not the person that sits there in a call center waiting for the phone to ring, not for the person who is hooked into the Rocket Mortgage app and all that stuff, trying to sell, but your typical local loan officer, mortgage professional, trying to figure out how they can beat the big guys. Not necessarily at their own game, but beat them locally. Because while we in the industry know that we all lend money that comes from the same place, from a borrower's perspective, having local help might have benefits for them.
Yeah,
it's not all about the end product of getting a loan at the interest rate or whatever it is. It's about the service levels and the things that you can do for them, and just relating to people, reaching out to people, educating people. What have you been hammering on lately? And I know that you've seen a lot of this with the recent success you've had with some financial influencers. Jonny, I don't know if you follow What's a Mortgage on Instagram.
No.
They have a few 100,000 followers on Instagram and run a very successful mortgage shop, and they just released their version of FinLocker that's called what is it, Wham Wallet, Brian?
Yep, Wham Wallet.
Wham Wallet is What's a Mortgage, WAM. So it's Wham Wallet. And what was the number of registrants that they got off that first post?
So
that was crazy.
they've been live with the product for about 4.5 weeks. So the first week of May, they did their first post that was focused on the product itself. Everything they do from a messaging perspective is to help educate people about home buying and home ownership. And so they created a specific piece of content on that first launch that was talking about their WAM wallet and how the WAM wallet is going to help. In addition to the education that we're providing here, we're going to give you a tool with these cool things. And they kind of talked about those things in this post. First 24 hours, they had 444 downloads of their WAM wallet. So most people will be like, okay, big deal. What does that mean? That's 400 people liked their post. What do you mean? No, 444 people went to the App Store, downloaded WAM wallet, registered. So at a minimum, if all they did was created an account and registered, first name, last name, email address, mobile number, pretty good. That's not a bad lead form in and of itself. But they went further. These people linked their credit, linked some financial accounts, used the budgeting tools. So fast forward to 4.5 weeks after launch, over 4,100 consumers have downloaded and engaged with the WAM wallet. A quarter of those have gone to a place all the way to real estate search. So now you have some people with intent where they built search filters on the communities they're looking to buy in. The point of this is twofold. Not every loan officer out there has 200,000+ followers. We get that.
Yeah, that was my follow-up. How does somebody with 200 Instagram followers
leverage? So if somebody with 200 Instagram followers, if they get 2 people to engage with them at this level, and one of those transacts with them, let's say, does a loan with them over time, they would probably take that return all day long from their 200 followers, I would think. To me, whether you have 200 or 200,000 is not the point. The point is with the group at WAM, we've just proven out in a case study that being on social and providing homeownership education, financial fitness, financial literacy education works. Set aside the downloads of the app. The message that these guys put out has created 200,000+ followers. So we know that people are looking for the content there. Secondly, we've just proven that at relative scale, consumers that they now trust that WAM brand and the message that's coming from there will download this app and use it as part of that homeownership journey. So it kind of makes sense when you think about who that typical audience is that's probably looking at their content and that's most likely to be a digital first consumer. It's our younger, millennials and the older Gen Zs that are in that kind of zone, right? And for everybody that's kind of listening and watching today, that's originating loans, that's tomorrow's in the next 5+ years, first-time home buyers. And if they're a third of the market today, they're easily going to be 40% or more of the market just because of the pent-up demand that we see year over year right now. So that's where the business is, in my opinion.
It goes back to, it's the stuff that we talk about all the time, right, Johnny? Like I talk about making video and posting it. You talk about making all sorts of different pieces of content to post on social media, because when you post stuff and it lives out there, people are engaging with you and your brand and the things that you are posting to help them along when you don't even know about it. It's 24/7. That stuff's working for you 24/7. This is another more focused tool that works for you 24/7. And if there's any loan officer or anything from a broker shop all the way up to a top 5 in the nation retail mortgage lender, if you ever looked at Rocket Money, Rocket Mortgage, and thought to yourself, man, wish I could have something like that, but I don't have the millions of dollars to put into R&D and hiring the team that it will take to actually build it out and create it and make it look slick and put my colors on it and make sure it's branded correctly and all that stuff. This is it. It's FinLocker. All you got to do is give them the logo and come up with a name.
I think the difference, one of the key difference though, between, I'm in the Detroit area, so they're my neighbors. I got to be careful what I say. Otherwise I gotta look under my car before I start it. To me, still the main difference in that equation. So the technology, I'm proud of it. So yeah, it's great technology. Mm-hmm. But what makes the technology come to life is the local loan officer. At the end of the day, in my mind, I really do believe that that's the connection that brings it all together, which is probably why Rocket's now hiring local loan officers, right? We just saw that come out recently. Yeah. They get it.
That's true. I've got some questions.
Yeah, man.
So the first one is, where is the help desk? Where is the oh shit panic? How does that part work?
Yeah, like from a technical perspective, right?
From a consumer sitting there at 8:00 at night on Saturday trying to download their bank statement or their bank account into it or anything like that.
Yeah. So we from a technical perspective, like an example there would be, I'm trying to link my credit and it's giving me a failure or whatever. So we have in the app itself.
404 failure.
Yeah. we're like, we're sorry. We don't go that low on that credit score. Sorry, sir. You're not eligible today. FinLocker does all the technical support. So in the app, there's a clear call to action if someone has technical problems. What we also make very clear and visible in the main dashboard in the app is the loan officers right there. Their face, their NMLS number, all their contact information, a button to link right to their email, another button to get on their calendar. So technical, we own it. Anything that's educational, that's not related local to the product. We want the loan officer to be that point of contact because through our app, we're encouraging that relationship to begin 6, 12, 18, 24 months before it normally may begin if they're waiting at the point of sale.
And if I understand this correctly, Brian, you even have places in the app where your enterprise accounts, the lenders, they can actually give you custom guidance in certain areas for you to insert in spots. So if your FICO score is 560 and you need to improve it, then one company's mortgage readiness app will have mortgage ready signified at maybe it's a 580 FICO, a 620 FICO, a 640 FICO, whatever it is. Like if different companies have different guidelines that they lend to,
lender program
give you that guidance, and you can customize certain things in the app to make sure that people won't be falsely sold a bill of goods, so to speak.
Yes.
So that way you're not setting the loan officer up for failure once they do contact them. They're like, hey, your app says I'm mortgage ready. And it's like, oh, we need a 640.
Yeah, you're kind of the way we think
that won't happen.
We're building confidence for that consumer so that when they do apply, they have that confidence. There may be something that we just don't see that ultimately gets in the way, but that would have gotten in the way no matter what, right?
So what's the price to the consumer?
So free. Our model is our lender licenses our product. We do have one client that sells the product to their consumers, but they're not a lender. They're a credit build company. So it kind of aligns with their other product anyway.
It's the tool of what their product is. Understand that completely.
But no, we don't have any lenders that pass the cost on to the consumer. And look, at the reality of it is I named a handful of apps at the beginning of this talk. Those are all free anyway. I mean, right? If I can go get Karma and Mint and go to Zillow for free, why am I going to pay $20 for, Johnny's version of FinLocker? It probably doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. But I think it's important to get it out to the the audience to let them know that there is no cost for it. Now, let's say, is there a minimum? Let's say, Mike was talking about earlier, from a broker to a top 5 mortgage lender. is there a minimum? Is there something that if I am a two-man broker shop in, Hornswoggle, Utah, is there a minimum? Is this something that truly is usable and available to anybody and everybody, or is there an enterprise license of a minimum of 1,000 loan officers or something?
So we've got two models to kind of bookend what you described. So in that case of a 2 or 3 or maybe even a 10-person shop, and not everyone wanted to do this, we have a single brand called Vida, VIDA. Vida is FinLocker and our partnership with Home Scout. And so Home Scout's branded our product Vida, and that we use that Vida app as our one-off loan officer channel.
Good move.
So that's pretty, that's going great. We love that. For typically, if there's a lender with at least 50 loan officers, we're willing to do an enterprise custom branded solution for that lender, and not require a minimum at the lender level. We still have to earn the business from the LOs. But if there's 50, I like my chances of at least getting 10 of them to use this. So that's kind of how we do it. We one-off LOs will go through that Vida channel. And then if an enterprise, if an IMB, as an example, wants to make this product available to their loan officers and they want their loan officers to be economically responsible for it, we have that model as well. And then there's some hybrids, we work with some larger mortgage servicers that believe in the power of this tool for ongoing engagement that they believe will help with ultimate retention. So there's, kind of hybrids around that as well.
Are you brave enough to share retail prices?
I'll tell you that at the loan officer level that I described, that Vida path, if you will, it's $225 per month for the loan officer, and then
unlimited users on the consumer side.
We have there's a finite number of consumers under that license, somewhere around, I think it's 100, 150 that can be in there, and then the expectation is if you've got 200 and 250, you got engagement as a loan officer, you're going to be happy to add another 75 or 100.
You can give me 10 loans a month, I'll give you $10,000 a month.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So that loan officer model, Vida is $225, and then for when we do an enterprise agreement with an IMB, as an example, then their loan officers, it would be $200 for their LO. So we've incented at the LO level to have a group of LOs in a shop kind of decide to do this. And again, we have one of the largest distributed retail lenders, and we started with 5 LOs, but there's a path to 2,400. So we like our chances to get from 4 to 15 to 150 to whatever. So
that's great.
So if I'm a shop and I've got
25 through Vida, 200 on an enterprise account. If there's
200
a group,
per, and what's the minimum on the enterprise account?
There is no minimum. I need to get, for me, I need to have around 10 LOs on that enterprise to make it make sense for me, but I'm not going to hold the enterprise to that. I have to earn that business at the LO level. I get it. And I can do that. I can get a handful of champions in there, and you know how that works with anything with a group of salespeople. If there's folks having success with something, other people are going to want to use it.
I think it sounds very inexpensive for what it is, for something that's white labeled, that I think it also adds massive credibility. And I'm just going to use Red Button because we've been talking about Red Button. Sure. So if there was a company called Red Button, and one of the loan officers at Red Button said, go out to the iOS Apple Store, download my Red Button app, and it will take care of all of your financial needs. Well, there's a massive amount of credibility because, like you were talking about, your true end user is going to be millennial Gen Z for the most part.
Yep.
They know what a massive, massive undertaking it is to get anything inside of the Apple Store, anything that's iOS approved, and the certificate that it takes to keep it there. So I think you've got an awesome understanding of who your end user is on that, and they truly do know what that's going to be and what it takes. I really like the idea that to me, it's massive lead generation, but it's not lead generation for the sake of lead generation. Right. It's lead generation for an educational experience that is gamified, is what I'm understanding. Without me ever seeing it, what I'm hearing is it's a gamified experience that's teaching me all of the things, like you said. Matter of fact, it's in my freaking book that school never taught us. And that for my age group, and I think that we're probably all right there in the Xers group, that was not anything that was ever spoken about at our house. I had no idea how much a house cost. I had no idea how much electric bill was, anything like that. We didn't talk about things like that. So I can see that being an awesome, amazing tool for those loan officers if they follow through, which is the one thing I'm worried about with it, if they follow through, because I'm the guy who buys 10 licenses and 8 of them are, I don't know how to use it. I'm too old, whatever. Right. I think that there is, and you may already have this in the works. I think that we're either not going deep enough. Maybe we've already thought about it, but I don't see this. I truly don't see this as being mortgage-led, mortgage-driven, even though that's what you're saying. What I see this as is I see it being parental-driven. I see it as being educator-driven, and I see it as being mentor-driven, as opposed to the loan officer who's thinking 30 days at a time saying, download this app. This is something that, and I let's just say the guy from Franklin, Tennessee, because I don't want to say his name. This is something that needs that kind of push behind it. Because the reality of it is a loan officer pushing this may or may not be at the same company in 18 months, 24 months. The loan officer pushing it is going to forget about that consumer, in my opinion, in about 31 days. But this is, it sounds like I want to see this because I am so intrigued by now. I think that we need to go deeper on who the true user supplier is.
So my belief is I wouldn't tell you today that every loan officer would have success with this. Just like if you looked at the roster of any mortgage company's loan officers, not every loan officer is engineered the same way.
If there's a call center LO who's waiting on refinance leads,
that's not going to work for them.
This isn't going to work for them. We could almost venture to like bring everything full circle and link it up together and say that the loan officer who is willing to commit to a content strategy on social media for mid to long-term success is someone who this will work for, because this is going to help build that mid to long-term success.
That's it.
It's not instant and transactional.
It's not the hidden loan officer. It's not the secret agent loan officer.
Right. Correct.
This is
brand building. This is mid to long-term.
I'm going to tell you right now. I can tell you, and I don't know if he's already one of your consumers, but I can tell you who one of the greatest advocates of something like this would ever be. And if you don't know him, I'll introduce you to him. This is a Dan Keller product, if there's ever been a Dan Keller product.
We don't have Dan, but we've got, do you know Ryan Grant? You might know that name out there. They're similar but different, of course. But Ryan is a big proponent of building family wealth that starts with home ownership in the first home, and so Ryan and the team at Neo Home Loans have really been a great partner for us, and they really understand that concept.
Mike, you know who you need to show this to? You need to show this to Rob Ziebert. You need to show this to Fritz Reichert, and you need to show this to Mike Hajar.
Yeah, man. Make all those intros for me, and I'll do that.
Okay, my bad. Those are some of our guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Rob Ziebart and Fritz Reichert are, matter of fact, I think on any given day, they're our number one branch in the country. They're down in the central part of Florida. And one of the biggest things that they do.
I know branch names, but I don't know the people's names behind the branches, because I see the production reports, but it's always the branch name.
I think they're Landmark. I think they're Landmark.
Yes, I know of Landmark very well.
So what they do is everything about the mortgage process is truly what it should be, and it's truly about wealth building. That's how they look at everything that you do. Yeah. It's very much for lack of a better term, it's a millennial Robert Kiyosaki kind of thing. Right. Yes, you can buy a new turbo Porsche if you buy an asset that will pay for that new turbo Porsche kind of thing. Yeah. But I would love to, if you would get me your information, have those guys look at it.
Well, you'll get it, because I got to fill out that form to get paid for this podcast. So you'll have all my.
Oh man, he's going to be waiting by the mailbox for a while, Johnny.
This guy's really he keeps wanting to be paid. He wants freaking money. God.
That's okay, because I'm going to raise his rates after this call. So.
Exactly. Oh no.
Oh man, Brian, thank you so much for being on. Closing thought, where can people get a hold of you? Finlocker.com and anywhere else?
Yeah, finlocker.com. In case you missed the last 52 minutes, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. But yeah, finlocker.com. You can check out kind of what's going on there. We have a YouTube channel with a bunch of playlists that some cool guy at Red Button produced for us with that are super cool. And that's another thing we do with Red Button is we help support our customers and how they market their version of the product by creating some custom, product demo videos as well. So thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Too much talk about me. Head over to finlocker.com and check out Brian Vieaux on LinkedIn, but write down how you spell his name, because if you just search Brian Vieaux, you're never going to find the guy.
Right on.
Yeah, you got to pretend like he's from Baton Rouge or something.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Brian, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
Johnny, thank you, brother. To everybody out there, to our listener who's still with us, thank you for watching and or listening to the Fly the Flag podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.